Right guys, this is a Longplay review for Barbarian on the AMSTRAD CPC, released by Palace Software in 1987, and this is one of the earliest and most famous 1v1 fighting games. Famous for its front cover and advertising material that drew a lot of controversy in the press for featuring scantily clad page 3 model Maria Whittaker posing in a tiny bikini. Now, if you don't know what a page 3 model is, if you're outside the UK, girls would appear with their tits out on the third page of tabloid newspapers, and Maria was one of the most famous for doing that. And yes, that is also Wolf from the TV show Gladiators posing there as the Barbarian. But those complaining seemed less concerned by the other reason it's famous to gamers, at least, with the gory violence within the game. Indeed, this got banned in Germany until the blood was changed to green. Now, the cover and indeed the game was designed by Steve Brown, who had just finished with Cauldron 1 and 2, which had been quite successful for Palace. And inspired by Conan, he decided to make a fighting game. Here you can see some of his original sketches, and he filmed himself with a camera posing with fake swords, which along with the other artists, the footage was replayed on a VCR and TV and painstakingly traced onto a transparent sheet that was stuck onto a TV. Hence, as we will see shortly, this is why the animation is so good. And there's also a really decent number of moves available, as you can see here, with 16 in total. Now, on the Amstrad version, as we kick things off here, there are 4 different backgrounds, but you have to load each of them in separately, and you'll stay on that background for the duration of the game, rather annoyingly. Also, as a side note, not many people realise that the first 2 on side A of the disc or tape are only practice modes, and you won't get to fight the evil Drax at the end. Anyway, because that annoys me and I want to show you everything, what we'll do on this long play, seeing as we have 8 fighters and levels, is we'll start on the first backdrop in the forest clearing, as you can see here, for the first 2 fighters. Then I'll edit jump cut to the 3rd and 4th fighter on the second backdrop, and we'll continue on like that until we fight Drax, showing you all 4 backgrounds available in the game. We've got a nice rolling demo here, and not many people get confused with the options on this game. It's worth reading the manual. You have to press the return key to cycle through the different modes. There's 3 modes, and press spacebar to start the game. Mode 1 is 1-player joystick, Mode 2 is 1-player keyboard, Mode 3 is 2-player joystick keyboard, and wow, we've already started off with a decapitation. Blood splurts out the corpse. The Green Goblin appears and ceremoniously boots the head off the screen and drags the corpse away. I love that. And we move on to the second fighter now, which is denoted by 01 in the middle of the heads-up display there at the top. We could also choose between sound effects or music by pressing F2. So what I will do is use sound effects on the first 2 fighters. We'll have full music on the next 2 fighters. I'll go back to sound effects and then go back to music like that for 2 fighters at a time. I like when you get a hit that the snakes animate there. We've got another decapitation. And yes, you've got basically 12 hit points there unless you get a decapitation. And the first 2 or 3 fighters, you may they're quite easy to get with the decapitation. The flying neck chop move. Oh, we're going to edit cut now to the second background, which looks really, really nice actually. I love the sunset there. And here I've actually applied the full music. Not many people realise there is full music available in the Amstrad version. Indeed, many videos on YouTube, the Amstrad version, don't feature the music in full. So here it is for you guys. And as I was saying, the flying neck chop move only really works on like the first 3 fighters, and they start getting wiser and tougher. And we just have a colour swap on the fighters. They're basically the same sprite as each other. So this guy's fighting in pink, bless him. Ah, we get another decapitation there. I don't think I'll be able to pull that off for any other fighters coming up. So what's the story of this game? According to the manual, the story so far: the evil sorcerer Drax desires Princess Mariana and has sworn to wreak an unspeakable doom on the people of the Jeweled City unless she is delivered to him. Princess Mariana, obviously a reference there to Maria Whittaker. However, he has agreed that if a champion can be found who is able to defeat his demonic guardians, the princess will be allowed to go free. All seems lost as champion after champion is defeated. Then, from the forgotten wastelands of the north, comes an unknown barbarian, a mighty warrior wielding his broadsword with deadly skill. Can he vanquish the forces of darkness and free the princess? Only you can say. There we go. So I think I mentioned earlier there's 12 health points. You lose 1/2 of your 6 circles when you get hit. When you get hit, your snake animates, and if you hit the opponent player, his snake animates, which is just a nice graphical touch there. And it's really, really good 1v1 fighting action, especially with like that 16 moves available to you. That was the Web of Death there, which was Steve Brown took that from Conan the Barbarian or Conan the Destroyer. I can't remember which of the Conan movies. It's like, he saw that in the movie and I was like, I've got to have the Web of Death. And that's where he swings his sword around like that. Okay. Really, really nice music actually. It's a real shame that people don't realise that you can have the full music in this game. I think the game needed a better menu option, perhaps at the start, and then it should switch to a rolling demo or something. Because people who don't read the manual would have missed out. Indeed, many people get confused as to how to actually start the game and what modes are available. But this game really comes into its own in 2-player mode, especially when you pull off the flying neck chop and decapitate your best mate. Great fun! And now we edit cut. We're on to side 2 of the disc and tape now, and the first background on that, as we fight the fighter number 5, even though it says 4 at the top there. Starts at 0 and counts upwards. And we're back on sound effects here, just so you get a nice mix of things. Other versions of this game, let's talk about them briefly. Specky version has possibly the worst graphics, which is harsh to say because for the Specky they're actually really good. It's just that it's mostly in 2 colours. In the main fighting window at least. It has some extra colours around the outside and the backgrounds and stuff. It does mean that they are less blocky though than the Amstrad one, so it's kind of harsh to really criticise the Specky there, but it's the full colour of the Amstrad and other versions that kind of look really, really good. However, the sprites move and animate at a slightly slower frame rate to my eyes than the CPC and the Commodore 64 versions. I may be wrong though. And there's no blood spurts after the decapitation, sadly. As for the Commodore 64, it plays and feels identical to the CPC as far as I could tell. Doesn't have as nice graphics and colours as the CPC. But the sound effects and stuff are, maybe the music as well, sound a bit better. So it's hard to choose which is the better version. Do you prefer the graphics of the Amstrad or the sound of the Commodore 64? Up to you guys. There's a version for the Atari 8-bit, which plays ridiculously fast. Too fast, in fact. And has weird sort of grayscale-like graphics. There's also a version for the BBC, which has an Acorn Electron, which has more colour than the Specky, but I don't think it's as detailed, and is lacking a bit of polish with the animated snakes not happening, nor any spurts of blood from the corpse when you decapitate them. It actually plays quite well for the BBC, but it's probably the weakest overall of the 8-bit versions. Moving on to the 16 bits. Oh my god, hang on a second. This fighter, wow, he's eaten far too many carrots. He's very, very, very orange. I think he's got a medical condition that needs looking at. Moving on to the 16 bits, and the Atari ST has slightly improved graphics over the CPC and also features a lot of digitized fighting sounds, which is very nice. The Amiga version is identical to the ST as expected. It's an Atari ST port, but with better sounding effects. There's also a version for the PC MS-DOS, which has the same graphics, but plays a lot slower and less digitized sound effects. So yeah, the Amiga is the version to go for on the 16-bit. As for magazine review scores at the time, Barbarian was reviewed in the August 1987 issue 23 of Amstrad Action. They really liked it, making special note about the graphics and presentation, but note that the advertising was sexist. So it's nice to see the mid to late 80s were more enlightened than perhaps we remember. And also that we've seen this game all before in Way of the Exploding Fist years previously. Still, they thought it was the best of the combat games. And they gave the graphics 94%. Wow. Sonic's 81%, grab factor 90%, staying power 83%, and awarded it the AA Rave Award with an overall rating of 87%. So yeah, I kind of agree with their review scores, actually, for once. I think I would give this an 8.5 out of 10 too. Maybe so close to getting a 9 out of 10. I mean, for its one-player mode, it doesn't beat the other 1v1 fighters like Way of the Exploding Fist or International Karate Plus. However, it is the best for 2 players, I reckon. Certainly there's a lot of fun involved with this game compared to the others when you can do like the flying net chop move and decapitate your opponent and best mate. But the reason why I don't think it beats Way of the Exploding Fist and IK Plus in terms of its one-player battles is because sadly, the combat kind of devolves into spamming the forward and back rolls, as we're sort of seeing here on this fighter onwards, which kind of spoils things somewhat. And to use a modern term, the rolling mechanics there, they need to be nerfed. You know, basically you're just spamming the rolling back and forward and then trying to get a sneaky hit in. So, you know, the meta from this point onwards is roll, do a body chop, roll, try a kick, roll, try a leg chop, and rinse and repeat, because these fighters are really, really tough, and they too spam the roll moves. Right, we're going to play these 2 fighters and Drax with the music on in full. So no sound effects now, but just the music, which is excellent. And as you can see, guys, there, roll, attack, roll, attack, roll, attack. And in fact, if you get really, really stuck and low on your hit points, there's a little trick you can do, really, which is roll and keep rolling and rolling until your opponent is backed against the far edge of the arena. And then just roll and do the kick move, which is fire down and forward. And there's not much he can do to counter that apart from to roll himself, but he'll often try to do his own attack, so you can use that to your advantage a lot. The leg chop move there, fire and down, is an incredibly useful move. There's not much that can counter it, and you're basically spamming a lot of these low attack moves. I mean, if he rolls into you, you want to use the kick move or body chop, which is fire and right. Otherwise, if you're rolling into him, try the leg chop. And if you're rolling into him when he's against the wall at the back, try the kick. Okay, that's my top tips. Oh, this is the last fighter, actually. Sorry, I almost lost track there. Yes, last fighter here, with the evil Drax looking on and Maria Whittaker looking on. Sorry, Princess Mariana. There we go. And you can see an awful lot of the use of the rolling move there again as well. So yeah, that needed to do something about that rolling move. It doesn't, I should point out, it doesn't cause any damage to your opponent, but you can be used as much as you want, and there isn't really any counter to it. So I'm just rolling, try the kick move there. Once he's back against the wall, roll to the kick. There you go. Slowly draining his health there. And it's a process of attrition here. You're not going to score a flying net chop move and decapitate him. But yeah, guys, just to confirm, beautiful graphics. Some of the best graphics I've seen on the Amstrad. I love the music, it fits the game so well. Brilliant sound effects as well. Lovely presentation of the animated snakes. The victory pose there, we've got the green goblin. Everything about this game is great. It just needs to be better organised and have the 4 different backgrounds rotating round all the time, or just a multi-load would have been okay for me. But there we go. And now we get to fight the evil Drax. So we do have a confrontation here with the villain, which is good. And we just have to avoid his magic and spells. Oh, look at that. If you wait around too long, the Barbarian looks at you going, what the hell's going on, mate? Come on. So, oof. Just jump and duck these, get as close as you can, and then just roll into him. And we get thanks, big boy, as our ending there. Thank you, Maria. So, 8.5 out of 10 from me. Nearly a 9 if they could have sorted out that rolling move and had a multi-load for the different backgrounds, especially on the disc version, which would have been easy to do. But an absolute classic, and I'm sure you guys, as horny teenagers back in the 80s, weren't at all influenced by the box art and advertising. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, please click a like below, leave a comment, and also subscribe if you haven't already. And over that way, there's another video for you to check out. Xyphoe, out.